You build something. It grows past anything you imagined, and one morning, the people you trusted look you in the eye and tell you it isn't yours anymore. That happened to the founder of Twitter. Then it happened again. A man helps invent a new way for the world to talk to itself. He runs the company. He loses it. Years later, he's back, welcomed like a returning king. And then he loses it all over again. In between those two falls, the people who pushed him out get cut loose themselves. Allies turn on allies. A mentor is brought down by the protege he once guided. The investors who put leaders in their chairs later throw them overboard. Twitter changed how our planet argues, grieves, jokes, and revolts. But inside its own walls, one pattern kept repeating. Year after year, coup after coup. How does the founder of one of the world's most influential platforms keep losing his own company? Like many things in history, it starts with a failure. In 2005, a small San Francisco startup called Odeo is trying to build the future of podcasting. Then, Apple drops podcasts into iTunes for free on every iPod on Earth. Overnight, Odeo is finished. The company is dying and everyone inside it knows it. So they do what desperate startups do. They start throwing out ideas for what to build instead. One of those ideas comes from a quiet young engineer named Jack Dorsey. A simple service. You type a short message about what you're doing, your friends see it. That's the whole thing. Most people in the room shrug. One person doesn't. His name is Noah Glass, and by most accounts from those early days, nobody believed in this little side project more than he did. Colleagues would later call him the true believer, the one pushing hardest to make it real. He's the one who gives it a name. Flipping through a dictionary, hunting for the right word, he lands on one that means a short burst of inconsequential information. Twitter. For a while, the entire service runs off Glass's laptop. The first message goes out in March 2006. It's sent by Jack Dorsey. So, already, you've got a problem. A product with more than one father. Noah Glass, who named it and nursed it, Jack Dorsey, who first described it, Evan Williams, the ex-Google millionaire whose money keeps the lights on, and Biz Stone, the easygoing creative who holds the peace. Be warned, even this version is contested. The people who were there have spent years arguing over who really did what, but on one point they tend to agree. 4 men, 1 idea, and nowhere near enough room at the top. The fight over who owns Twitter has already begun. The founders just don't know it yet. The first one to fall is Noah Glass, the man who came up with the name Twitter, and who by many early accounts believed in it most. Glass is forced out in late 2006, and even the way it happened is contested. By the accounts that survive, it's Evan Williams who fires him. According to Nick Bilton's reporting in his book Hatching Twitter, Williams did it at the urging of Glass's own close friend, Jack Dorsey. Treat that as a reported claim, not gospel. Twitter's early history is contested at almost every turn, and the people involved don't all tell the same story. But the outcome isn't in question. Glass is gone before Twitter becomes huge. He'll fade from the story so completely that years later, when the company is worth billions, most people won't know he existed. Remember that. It comes back around. With Glass gone, Dorsey becomes chief executive, and for a moment, he's the boy king of Silicon Valley, the shy programmer who invented the thing everyone's talking about. There's just one problem. He's not great at running it. Twitter is exploding and the technology can't keep up. The site crashes so often that its error screen, a cartoon whale held up by birds, becomes more famous than half its features. Users even have a name for it: the fail whale. Behind the scenes, the complaints pile up. Dorsey is neglectful, Instead of focusing on Twitter, he's doing hot yoga, taking drawing and sewing classes. He's awkward with investors. There are stories of enormous personal phone bills. And in one detail that horrifies the board, there's reportedly no proper backup of Twitter's database. The whole company is one bad day from vanishing. The read on him inside the building hardens into a single sentence. Brilliant, the source of the original idea, but not ready to run a company at this scale. And his relationship with Evan Williams, the man whose money built the place, is rotting. By 2008, the two are barely speaking. So Williams lines up the board, two early investors in particular, Fred Wilson of Union Square Ventures and Bijan Sabet of Spark Capital. First, they give Dorsey a warning, roughly 3 months to turn things around. When he doesn't, they move on without him. As Bilton tells it, the two board members invite Dorsey to breakfast at the Clift Hotel in San Francisco. It's a classic good cop, bad cop. One softens the blow, the other delivers the verdict between bites. Dorsey is out as CEO. He keeps a title, chairman, but no real power and no job. According to Bilton, Williams had already put it plainly. You can be a dressmaker, or you can be the CEO of Twitter. Not both. Dorsey doesn't see it coming. Years later, in one of his only honest comments about that day, he sums it up in 5 words. It was like being punched in the stomach. At the time, the press wraps it in the gentlest language it can find. Twitter sidelining one founder and elevating another. Strip the politeness away, and it's blunter than that. The founder has been deposed by his own board, and the hand on the knife belongs to the partner who helped him build it. But in this kingdom, the knife never stays in one hand for long. Evan Williams is in charge now, and he's about to learn the lesson Twitter teaches everyone eventually. Power here is borrowed, never owned. Because Jack Dorsey isn't finished. Stripped of his job but still on the board, Dorsey starts rebuilding his image from the outside. According to Bilton, he begins shaping the story of Twitter's creation in the press, casting himself as the lone visionary, the sole inventor, trimming the others out of the founding myth entirely. Noah Glass vanishes from the telling. So does much of what Williams and Stone did. He models himself on Steve Jobs, a man who was also thrown out of his own company and came back to rule it. Dorsey wants the same arc. And behind closed doors, the campaign turns operational. Bilton describes Dorsey working the board and the staff, building support to force Williams out, the same move Williams had pulled on him. It works. In 2010, the board swaps Evan Williams for the company's chief operating officer, Dick Costolo. And in the reshuffle, Dorsey climbs from sidelined board member back up to executive chairman. Look at what just happened. The man who took the company from Dorsey has now lost it to Dorsey. The betrayer became the victim, and the victim became the betrayer all over again. This is the rhythm of the whole thing. Nobody rises here without standing on someone they used to call a friend, and nobody stays standing for long. Costolo runs Twitter for the next few years. He takes it public in one of the biggest tech offerings of its time. But growth slows. Pressure builds. Wall Street loses patience. And waiting in the wings, with a hero's storyline already written, is the founder who never stopped wanting it back. By 2015, Dick Costolo steps down. Dorsey takes the wheel as interim chief executive. And that autumn, the interim comes off. In October 2015, he's named permanent CEO of Twitter. The conquering founder. The prodigal son. The man who created this thing got cast out and has returned to save it. It's a perfect story. The press loves it. Employees want to believe it. The jobs comparison he'd spent years cultivating finally looks earned. From the outside, it seems the saga is over. The founder won. Order restored. But there's a catch, and it's the same one as always. He's also running a second company called Square, a financial firm that lets merchants accept payments through mobile devices or dedicated hardware. Two public companies, one man, trying to sit on two thrones at once. For a while, nobody stops him. A comeback feels like an ending. It isn't. It's just the breath before the next move. Because the people who actually hold the power here aren't the founders, and they never were. It's the board, and the investors big enough to bend the board to their will. They're the ones who can vote you out, and they're about to remember it. In early 2020, a new player walks onto the board. Not a founder, not an engineer, a hedge fund. Elliott Management is one of the most feared activist investors in the world, run by the billionaire Paul Singer. Elliott doesn't build companies. It buys into them and leans on them to change, or to change their leaders. It takes a stake of around 4% in Twitter, and it comes with a target on Jack Dorsey's back. The argument is blunt. Dorsey's distracted. He's splitting himself between two companies, and the stock's gone nowhere for years while rivals pull ahead. What Twitter needs, Elliott argues in effect, is a leader whose full attention is on Twitter. For a lot of people, the last straw is Dorsey's plan to spend months living and working in Africa while running the company. The hedge fund moves like a political operation. In late February, Elliott nominates 4 candidates for Twitter's board, a direct shot at seizing control. Its point man, Jesse Cohn, sits down with Twitter's chairman and its lead independent director to press the case face to face. For a week, it looks like the founder's about to be forced out a second time. Then comes the deal. A second investment firm, Silver Lake, steps in with $1 billion. Twitter announces a settlement. Elliott and Silver Lake each take a board seat. A third new director is added. The company launches a multi-billion-dollar buyback to keep its shareholders happy. Dorsey keeps his job. But read the fine print. As part of the truce, the board sets up a special committee with one assignment: to review the company's leadership and governance, and plan for who comes after Dorsey. He survived. But the board didn't save him. It put him on a clock, in writing, and started building the machine that would replace him. The founder's still on the throne, he just no longer decides how long he sits there. The end, at least Dorsey's end, comes in November 2021. Jack Dorsey steps down as chief executive of Twitter. His hand-picked successor, the chief technology officer, Parag Agrawal, takes over. The founder is walking away from the company he created for the second time in his life. Officially, it's his decision. Twitter frames it as a founder choosing to leave because the company is finally ready to stand on its own. In his farewell letter, Dorsey makes that case himself. He says a company shouldn't lean on the people who started it. He calls founder-led leadership a single point of failure. But look at what he never got to do. A year earlier, Elliott had tried to force him out, and failed. The deal kept him in the chair. Yet the pressure exposed the same crack that had been there since 2008. Jack Dorsey could invent the product. He could lose the company and claw it back. What he could never do, not once across 15 years, was permanently control the institution he built. So take his exit however you like. A man making peace, handing over his life's work with grace, or a founder reading the board, the investors, doing the math and deciding it's better to write your own ending than wait for someone else to write it for you. A few months later, he leaves the board for good. The last founder is gone. Step back, and the pattern is hard to miss. Every hand that reached for Twitter eventually had it pried loose by the next. Glass, Dorsey, Williams, Dorsey again. The names changed. The ending never did. Twitter was never one betrayal. It was a chain reaction of them, each coup arming the next. The founders thought they owned it. The CEOs thought they ran it. But control here was always on loan from whoever could outvote you next. Nobody ever owned Twitter for long. They only held it until the next coup. Pull all the way back and Twitter stops looking unusual. Take away the servers, the funding rounds, the little blue bird. What's left underneath is older than any of it. Someone builds a thing, others help, and the moment that thing is worth having, the question changes. It stops being, how do we build this? It becomes, who gets to keep it? That question has never had a loyal answer. Notice who took down each leader of Twitter. Never a stranger, never a rival from some other company, always someone who had sat at the same table. Glass was undone by the friend he trusted. Williams rose on Dorsey's idea, then fell to Dorsey's campaign. Every removal in this story needed closeness first. That's the uncomfortable truth under all of it. You can't be stabbed in the back by someone who was never behind you. The trail isn't the opposite of trust. It's what trust makes possible. And power keeps no friends. It rewards whoever holds it this minute and walks out the door the instant someone can hold it better. The board that installs you will vote you out. The partner who builds with you will move against you. The successor you pick will keep everything you couldn't. None of this began with technology. Long before boards and stock and IPOs, the same scene played out in palaces and senates. A ruler at the center, a circle of trusted men around him, and one of them, sooner or later, deciding the seat would look better filled by someone else. The closer that circle stood, the more dangerous it was, because no one else could get near enough to try. The props change. The knife becomes a board vote. The marble hall becomes a glass conference room. The crown becomes a title on a press release. The shape never changes. The closeness, the cold arithmetic, the turn. And we keep watching. Not because the details are new, but because they aren't. Some part of us already knows how it ends. The rise, the trusted circle, the turn, and we watch anyway. The way you watch a man walk toward a door he doesn't know is locked. That's why a story about a website built for short messages can feel thousands of years old. Because it is. Twitter was never really about Twitter. It was about the oldest math there is. The closer you stand to power, the closer you stand to the person who will take it from you. It has always worked this way. Twitter just gave it a live feed.